I bid you a hearty welcome in this virtual conference room. Hope all are doing well. After a long gap, we are gathering here, my dear friends and colleagues and my seniors. Many of you are well known to us as we are organizing webinars since the month of September 2020. Under the heading of Biodiversity Series 1, we have been successfully completed 30 lectures by our respective knowledgeable, enthusiastic, highly appreciable resource persons. From this ground, I am again giving thanks to all of them because without their help, we will not be able to make success all the webinars. After the grand success of conducting those webinars, we, the organizing committee members of biodiversity webinars, decided to conduct a national level conference. But due to some hindrance, we were unable to conduct it in the month of May. Now we are happy to get our permanent principal, Dr. Devaprasad Sahu sir. Good evening, sir. In our college, Seva Mahavidyalaya, and he wholeheartedly encouraged me to conduct this conference. Officer in charge of Lalgarh Government College, Mr. Visheshwar Chakraborty, also with us this time. So, Shivabharati Mahavidyalaya, Kabgari, Jhargram, and Lalgarh Government College, Jhargram, West Bengal, in collaboration with Dristikon organization, is conducting this NCPC conference. Now, about today's program. Today, we have two technical sessions, and for each session, one participant come presenter will present their research paper. This is only knowledge dissemination program. All over India, so many research works are going on, and through this conference, we are trying to exchange and focus on that. The presenter's name of the first technical session is Dr. Mitu De, Associate Professor of Botany, Gurudas College, Kolkata. That session will be chaired by Professor Chandan Bhattacharya, Department of Genetics and Plant Breeding, Regional Research Center, PCKV, Jhargram, West Bengal, and co-chaired by Professor N.K. Verma, retired professor, Department of Botany and Forestry, Vidyasagar University, West Bengal. Expert for this Experts for this session are Professor G. Puthilibai, Professor of Chemistry, Sri Sairam Engineering College, Chennai; Dr. Nirupama Goswami, Associate Professor of Botany, Bardwan Raj College, West Bengal; Dr. Vinod Chandra Sharma, Associate Professor of Botany, ABN Sil College, Pudhiyar, West Bengal. Presenter of the next technical session 2, is Dr. I. Jamuna Devi, Assistant Professor of Botany, Nambol LS College, Manipur. This session will be chaired by Professor J. P. Kesri, CAS Department of Botany, the University of Bardwan, and co-chaired by Professor Vidyanath Jha, Professor of Botany, Principal, Retired, MLSM College, Darbhanga, Bihar, and experts are Dr. M. Gopi, Assistant Professor and Head, Department of Plant Biology and Plant Biotechnology, Guru Nanak College, Chennai; Dr. Sangita Das, Assistant Professor of Botany, Bahuna College, Jorhat, Assam. After the technical sessions, the report of the whole program will be delivered by Sri Doipan Mitra, Assistant Professor of Assistant Professor of English, Lalgarh Government College, and another reporter, Sri Kishore Maji, Assistant Professor of Geology from the same college. Sri Sanjay Sinha, SAT Botany Department, Shivabharati Mahavidyalaya, is third reporter. This is a brief account of today's program. Without wasting time, we are going to begin the inaugural session of the program by a opening song. Presenters of this song are Meghabali Dando and Dishani Ghoshal of Shivabharati Mahavidyalaya. Sangha-chadvam, sangha-bhagavatam, sangho-bhala, chidadatam. Sangha-chadvam, sangha-bhagavatam, sangho-bhala, chidadatam. Savano samite savani samano mantra samite savani samada pada sahajita mesha Sangha-chadvam, sangha-bhagavatam, sangho-bhala, Sangha-chadvam, sangha-bhagavatam, sangho-bhala, Sangha-chadvam, sangha-bhagavatam, sangho-bhala, So thank you, Meghamouli and Dishani, for your very good presentation. Now I would like to request Dr. Debaprasad Sahu, Principal, Shiva Bharati Mahavidyalaya, to say something about the conference on biodiversity conservation.
ম্যাডাম আমার ভয়েস শোনা যাচ্ছে? ম্যাডাম?
Yes sir, yes sir.
Okay, I can start now.
Yes sir.
Okay. Good evening to all present here. Welcome all of you for joining in the 3 days national conference on biodiversity conservation organized by Department of Botany, Shiva Bharati Mahavidyalaya, Department of Botany, Lalgor Government College, Jhargram, and Drishtikon Organization, Panchkura, Purba Midnapur. This is the remarkable conference in the history of our institution as well as Lalgor Government College, which is completely conducted on digital platforms due to the pandemic in the Jungle Mahal area. I welcome Dr. Visheshwar Chakraborty, Assistant Professor and Officer in Charge, Lalgor Government College, Jhargram, West Bengal, Dr. Binod Choudhury, Vice Principal, Seva Bharati Mahavidyalaya, Sri Amolesh Chandra Jana, Secretary, Drishtikon Organization, Panchkura, Purba Midnapur, and also Secretary of this conference, Dr. Pampi Ghosh, Assistant Professor and Head of the Department of Botany, Seva Bharati Mahavidyalaya, and Convener of this 3-day National Conference, Dr. Devabrata Das, Associate Professor and Head Department of Botany and Coordinator IQAC, Lalgor Government College, Jhargram, Sri Sumit Kumar Maiti, Assistant Professor of English and Coordinator IQAC, Seva Bharati Mahavidyalaya. It is my pleasure to introduce you to the esteemed guests in this conference who have come from various walks of life. I welcome different eminent personalities of different parts of our country present here to enrich this 3-day National Conference on Biodiversity Conservation. I hope their valuable lectures and valuable words will enrich all of us. I wish this seminar or conference must be grand success in all aspects. Once again, thank you all. Thank you, madam, and thank you, everybody.
Thank you, sir, for your inspiring words. Now I would like to request Sri Visheshwar Chakraborty, Officer in Charge and Assistant Professor in English, Lalgor Government College, Jhargram, to say something about this webinar.
So am I audible? Is my voice reaching?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay. Thank you so much, and I greet my evening greetings to all of you present here. First of all, I would like to extend my greetings towards Professor Dr. Devaprasad Sahu, Principal, Seva Bharati Mahavidyalaya, Kapgadi, Jhargram. Then Dr. Binod Choudhury, Vice Principal, Seva Bharati Mahavidyalaya, Kapgadi, Jhargram. And Sri Amolesh Chandra Jana, Secretary, Drishtikon Organization from Panchkura, Purba Midnapur, Secretary of the Drishtikon, Sri Amolesh Chandra Jana. And I also extend my gratitude to Dr. Pampi Ghosh, Assistant Professor and Head of the Department of Botany, Seva Bharati Mahavidyalaya, Kapgadi, Jhargram, for organizing this beautiful conference on Google platform, which is the first of its kind in the history of our institution as well, like the Seva Bharati Mahavidyalaya, on biodiversity conservation. I extend my thanks to her, and also I extend my gratitude in the capacity to her in the capacity of being the secretary of the conference committee. My thanks also goes to Dr. Devabrata Das, Associate Professor and Head of the Department Botany and Coordinator of IQAC of Government General Degree College, Lalgor, and the convener of the seminar. And he has always been a very active person regarding organizing these things, and he has already organized 2 seminars in our college. So it is quite becoming of him to organize such a beautiful one again, and we are lucky to be part of it. My thanks also goes to Dr. Sumit Maiti, Assistant Professor of English and Coordinator IQAC, Seva Bharati Mahavidyalaya, Kapgadi, Jhargram. Our 2 teachers from our college as well, Sri Kishore Majhi, Assistant Professor of Geology of our college, that is GGDC Lalgor, and Doipayan Mitro, and also my gratitude to Sri Sanjoy Kumar Singho, SSCT, Department of Botany, Seva Bharati Mahavidyalaya. So I welcome you all to this beautiful and very, which would be a kind of very engaging kind of discussion, intellectual feast rather, on biodiversity conservation. My gratitude also goes to Dr. Irungam Jamuna Devi, Assistant Professor, Department of Botany, Nambol S. Sanoy College, Nambol, Manipur, and to Dr. Mitu De, Associate Professor, Department of Botany, Gurudas College, Kolkata. So we look forward to meet you, and we also look forward to learn from your valuable works. My thanks to Dr. Joya Thakur, PG Department of Fergusson College, Pune, MS India, Dr. S. Gomothi, who will be obviously speaking tomorrow, Assistant Professor, PG and Research Department of Geology, P.O. Chidambaram College, Thutkudi, Tamil Nadu, India, and S. Pupothi Rajan, Forest Genetic Resources Management Division, Institute of Forest Genetics and Tree Breeding, Coimbatore. So what my take on this particular seminar is that it is on biodiversity conversation, and there are various aspects the speakers will be talking about, and we will learn from them, we will get enriched by their wonderful deliberation. So thanking you all and welcoming you all, I prefer to end my greetings for the time being. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your inspiring, elaborate, very good speech. Thank you again. Dr. Binod Chaudhary, Vice Principal of Sharavarti Mahavidyalaya, is not present here due to her busy schedule. And well, very sorry to say that today our Secretary of District Organization is not with us due to some family problem. So now we can proceed to our technical sessions. Today we have two technical sessions, and the first session will be chaired by Professor Chandan Bhattacharya, Department of Genetics and Plant Breeding, RRC, BCKV Jhargram, co-chaired by Professor N.K. Pharma, retired professor, Department of Botany and Forestry, Vidyasagar University, Midnapur, West Bengal. Experts are Dr. G. Putilibai, Professor of Chemistry, Sri Sairam Engineering College, Chennai. Dr. Nirupama Goswami, Associate Professor, Department of Botany, Burdwan Raj College, Burdwan, West Bengal, India. Dr. Binod Chandra Sharma, Associate Professor, Department of Botany, ABN Sil College, Kuch Bihar, West Bengal. I would like to request Chairperson to take chair and run the session.
Hello. Can you listen me?
Yes.
Can you?
Yes, sir.
Can you listen?
Yes, what is it, sir? We are listening you.
Please. Thank you to organize the seminar, and I will request you to start the session, technical session. Please. Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hello. Hello.
Dr. Mitude.
Yes. Yes.
Dr. Mitude, madam.
Yes, I'm there. Yeah.
Yes.
Could somebody help me with the presentation, please, and start the presentation?
Hello.
Mitude, madam, you share your screen and start your presentation.
Yes, so please start with the presentation.
Hello.
She is trying to start, sir.
Yes.
Uh,
Madam, you start, please.
yeah, Dr. Pompey Ghosh, is anybody helping me with the presentation as requested by me?
Yes.
And somebody, I've already sent my presentation to Dr. Devobroto. So could we start sharing the screen, or do you want me to present?
We want to present it by you.
Okay, it's absolutely okay. Just hold on.
there is some difficulties in sound.
Dr. Mitu De, Dr. Devobroto Das, I'm telling, Mitu De, Dr. Mitu De. Yes, please carry on. Please share from your computer.
Yes, it is coming.
Okay, can I just have a feedback, please? Is my slides visible?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Good evening, everybody. Distinguished principal sir, teacher in charge sir, secretary sir, distinguished teachers, and our esteemed guests, and also the participants, many of whom I suppose are students also. Wishing every one of you a very good evening. And I really thank the organizers for the opportunity for giving me this platform, the digital platform, to share some of my work, which I conduct with traditional mango varieties. So now the title of my talk is Identification of Volatile Chemical Constituents of Fruit Pulp by GCMS analysis of some traditional mango varieties of Malda and Murshidabad districts for increased consumer acceptability and subsequent conservation. In this paper, I have a co-worker, that is Dr. Shanti Ranjan De, who is with Ram Mohan College. So I'll start with my presentation, and I'm just switching on my camera off. Now, a little bit about the introduction. Why did I take up this topic? So, we know that mango is endemic. The origin was in India, and India has one of the richest collections of mango cultivars in the world. Mango is grown in all the states of the country, and the characterization and documentation of indigenous mango varieties is important for identifying potential candidates for improved utilization of genetic resources. So perhaps this map makes it much more clearer. You see, nearly all of our states is colored, and the highest production is from Andhra Pradesh, followed by Uttar Pradesh, then Bihar, and West Bengal comes after Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Gujarat, Telangana. This is a 2018-19 data, so it could be a little change also. And the three states, that is Andhra Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, and Bihar, they account for 54% of the mango production in our country. So that goes as a background. And let us see about the varieties that we have. India has about 1,500 varieties of mango, each of which is unique in its taste, color, and shape. And it also sometimes varies in size also. Now the difference in taste, that is in flavor, in aroma, is often due to varied volatile compounds and other bioactive compounds in the mangoes. So this slide just shows the different, the most famous mangoes of different states. Now, as I've said in my previous slide, we have 1,500 varieties. But do we all know the names of 1,500 varieties? We know the important names. We know about Alfonso, we know about Imshagot. In West Bengal, we know about Langra. But what about those varieties which are endemic to certain pockets of a country, each having a unique characteristics? Most of these varieties are unknown to so many people. It is only pocketed in a certain area, and its unique characteristics are known to the local people. So now let's concentrate on West Bengal. We all know that the districts of Murshidabad and Malda were once famous for the traditional mango varieties. Even now when you travel, when you pass through Malda, we try to buy a packet of Amshopko from Malda because we know it has a unique taste and it's loved by everybody. If you go to Murshidabad, we try to find some local varieties of Murshidabad. And in Murshidabad, there's a variety which is known as Kohitur, which is very famous. I think many of you know about it. That Kohitur is a mango variety which is very rare and very delicate, and it needs needs to be cut by a bamboo knife. So even if you cut it with an ordinary knife, it will become not fit for food, for eating. Now what happens when you are transporting kohitur is usually in cotton beds. We have many mango camps all over West Bengal. There you see lots of varieties named as kohitur in cotton beds, uh, in cotton basket with cotton. But those are not the real kohitur because kohitur is so rare in Murshidabad. There are only a few trees, not even orchards, few trees which are present in Murshidabad. So that much production is not there. But that name is very famous, and people they can pay they'll pay so much to buy that kohitur. Kohitur now goes like one piece of kohitur is more than 1,000 rupees or 2,000 rupees in Murshidabad. But still, even if you pay so much money, you cannot get it because it's so rare. Now, these two districts, Murshidabad and Malda, they have different agroclimatic zones, and this different climatic zones, the edaphic zones, they gave rise to the traditional mango varieties, and they were mainly selected by different mango orchard owners over so many years. So it is a case of artificial selection, and you get this. So, why are we so interested in this? So, I'm sharing a June 9th, 2021 e-newspaper, which says that India's GI tag mangoes rule the world. And we feel very happy because this is ultimately going to be related to mango export from a country, which will be related to getting dollars for a country, which should go to the mango orchard owners and the people involved in this mango industry. Ultimately, this fruit crop is exported to all over the world. So if it has a GI tag, then the value increases. We'll talk about that a little later. So I need to give you some examples. So in this very newspaper of the June 9th, 2021 e-paper, there were some references about the mango varieties which got the GI tag. So before we go on to know which varieties got this GI tag, let us just recollect what does a GI tag mean. This is for the students. So I'll just read out. Geographical indication or GI tag is proof of where the product is born or produced. This product can be natural, agricultural, or manufactured. The use of GI as an indication of the product's origin acts as a certification that the product has exclusive qualities, is made, produced according to traditional methods, or has a good reputation due to its geographical origin. So that goes for the definition of GI tag. So now coming back to the newspaper that I just showed, it says the 16 species of mangoes that were exported to Bahrain include 3 GI tagged varieties: Krishapati, Lokhanbhog from West Bengal, and Zadula from Bihar. So here we are talking about 2 mango varieties which is indigenous to West Bengal, Krishapati and Lokhanbhog. Both of them are from Malda and Murshidabad districts. So what is so special about the India's GI tag mangoes? This Krishapati traditional mango variety, found abundantly in the eastern state of West Bengal and parts of Bangladesh, is highly popularized in India and abroad for its yellow-orange color and distinct taste. Now, that part about it's there in parts of Bangladesh because many of these mango varieties have been cloned to different parts of our region and different countries also because we share the same climatic and edaphic factors. But if the Bangladesh tries to export this, then there will be a dent in our income by export. So now because it's got the GI tag, Krishapati will be only meant for those mango varieties in Malda and Murshidabad. So Bangladesh will not be able to export Krishapati with this name. So this Krishapati is widely considered to be the champagne of mangoes. It's so popular. Another specialty of this species is that it does not have any fiber. The medium-sized fruit weighs between 250 to 350 grams with 77 pulp content. The variety has a good keeping quality. It is also known as Himsagar. Now, sometimes this name, the Himsagar, is also used for other varieties. So you have to be sure that which Himsagar are you talking about. Are you talking about the Himsagar, which is also known as Krishapati, which belongs to Malda and Murshidabad? So this is a picture of Krishapati. This is taken from Malda, collected in 2018 by us. So the predominant color of the skin is of the ripe fruit is yellow-orange. Specklings of skin is weak. Thickness of skin is medium. Adherence to the flesh to the skin is strong. Main color of the flesh of the ripe fruit is light orange. Now see the language that I'm using. That is according to the PPVR report that we have got, by which we can characterize the mango varieties. So now let's come to Lokhan Bhog or Lakshman Bhog, whichever way you pronounce it. So this variety is also exclusively cultivated in West Bengal. It's known for its splendid taste and appearance. It is considered a viable alternative to the famous Alfonso mango. Now let's see if I have a picture. Yes, this is Lokhan Bhog. It was collected from Murshidabad in 2018. So now, are these the only varieties which are very popular in West Bengal, which deserve a GI tag? So I'm going to share with you some of the important characteristics of indigenous mango varieties of Malda and Murshidabad. The traditional mango varieties, Chapa, has an aroma like Champaka or Michaelia Champaka flower. So whenever you are eating a slice of the Chapa mango variety, you will get the smell of the Chapa fool, that is Michaelia Champaka. And this not many people know, because it's very rare and it's only in those areas of Malda and Murshidabad that you can get it. And now we come to the another variety, indigenous variety of mango of Murshidabad. The name is Anarosh. Anarosh in Bengali means pineapple. And this anarosh, you take a slice of anarosh, it will taste exactly like the pineapple, that is Ananas formosus. So if you just blindfold your eyes and take a piece of this fruit, you might be wondering you're just having a pineapple. So aren't these traditional varieties with this unique aroma deserving a GI tag? Can these not be exported so that the people of Malda and Murshidabad get some economic benefit? Doesn't these varieties which have been selected by the farmers of Malda and Murshidabad, do they not need to be conserved? Are they not our heritage, our biological heritage? Do they not need to be conserved? Now these are the questions that we raise in this platform, where we have so many participants, the teachers, the scientists, the research scholars, the students. We are talking about our own heritage, the biological diversity heritage, and we all need to conserve it. Now, before we can think of conserving anything, we need to know it, that this heritage, this wealth is present in our state. So now, this is why the research comes in, the documentation comes in, the characterization comes in, the field study comes in, and it involves a lot of people. People will go to the different districts, to the remote areas of the rural parts to find out what wealth lies there and to identify the wealth, characterize it, make it scientifically available to other scholars all over the world, and then try to analyze the different chemicals, maybe the bioactive chemicals, and showcase it to the world. Let's see, we have this exotic variety with this exotic aroma, and only when there is a demand for any crop will there be conservation. Conservation without sustainable development will not lead very far, because ultimately the people need to eat, the local people, the farmers. So if there is a chain of demand and supply, we can rest assured that our biological wealth can be conserved and it can be kept for future generations. So now we come to the objective of a study. Now, I've just named these two varieties, Chapa and Anaros. There are so many other varieties in Malda and Murshidabad. It has about reported 400 varieties of that region. Now, they also have a unique taste, unique characters, unique shape, unique size. The appearance is different. But many of these varieties are on the verge of extinction because many of these indigenous varieties do not give a good yield. So the farmers, the mango orchard owners, they are facing a dilemma to keep those trees which their forefathers had selected, and so many of the trees are more than 100 years old. Will they keep it there even though they know that yield is so little? Or is it better to just cut off the tree and in that place plant some high yielding cultivars? So that is a dilemma that I think any people working with conservation need to address also. So coming to the objectives, so on one hand, these findings may aid in the conservation of indigenous plant resources and also may help in getting these traditional mango varieties registered under geographical indications of goods, that is the GI, getting the GI tag. Okay. So for these unique varieties to survive alongside modern varieties, they are characterized by distinctive aromatic traits, and documentation of these unique traits may increase the consumer acceptability and demand in the market, which will lead to the conservation. So a line of demand and supply. And it says consumer acceptability, both physical and chemical characteristics of mango, that is the color, texture, flavor, sweetness, are some of the qualities which determine consumer acceptability of the different mango varieties. And this also varies where you are selling the mangoes. So it could be different for the Indian continent, and it could be Indian subcontinent, or it could be different for when you export it to overseas market. So now just coming to my study area, this is the map of West Bengal, and Murshidabad is in number 8, the marked there, and Malda is number 6. So I'll just show you a detailed map of these two districts. So this is the Murshidabad districts, and you can see that the whole district has been divided into two parts. One is the Rar region, and the other one is the Bagri region, and divided by the Bhagirathi river. And this is Malda, and Malda, as you know, is very famous for silk, mango, jute. Okay. Now, in my study, this particular study, I have taken only 5 indigenous varieties which are of Malda and Murshidabad. So they are Anarosh, which I have already stated. It has a unique character that it tastes like pineapple, and we have Chapa, which it has the smell of the champaka flower, Michaelia champaka. We have Dil Basant, we have Kolaboti, and we have Kohinoor. So these are the 5. So the materials used was mainly the mango pulp, and the methanolic extract was prepared for the analysis. And the methods, because this study was mainly on the GCMS, this experiment was carried out in the Central Instrumentation Facility of Bose Institute, from where I did my doctorate degree. And the details are also given, the technical details are given. And the other method was the identification of the volatile components. Interpretation of the mass spectrum, that the GCMS, was conducted using the database of National Institute Standard and Technology, that is NIST, having more than 62,000 packets. The spectrum of unknown components was compared with the spectrum of the known components stored in the NIST library. The name, molecular weight, and the structure of the component of the test materials was ascertained. So this is just a picture of the GCMS instrument. Okay, so now we come to Anarosh. Now this is that Anarosh that I was talking about, which has the taste of pineapple. Now the question comes, why does a mango variety taste like pineapple? An entirely different fruit, different genera. So how is it possible? And so this was one interesting objective that we had in mind. We wanted to see whether we could identify any volatile components which was present in this Anarosh mango, and maybe from literature review find out whether it was present in the pineapple. So now the predominant color of skin of the ripe fruit is yellowish greenish. Speckling of the skin is absent. The main color of the flesh of the ripe fruit is light yellow. So that goes for a very brief description of anarosh. Okay. Now we'll come to the identification of some compounds. So we had a lot of compounds which we detected from anarosh, but I'm just sharing a few. So in anarosh we got benzene dicarboxylic acid, and this is how it happens. Okay. So this is found in this anarosh, and this same compound, benzene dicarboxylic acid, has been reported in the mango variety Baganpalli from Andhra Pradesh, which is known for its unique, sweet and rich taste. Now this variety from Andhra Pradesh is also very famous. And this is Chapa. So now see the description, it is a little technical because that is how in the PBVR we have these terms. It says a deep sinus is present, a strong bulging is present at the proximal stylus card with a large point. And the predominant color of the skin of the ripe fruit is yellow, green. Thickness of the skin is very thin. Adherence of the flesh of the skin is weak or minimal. And the main color of the flesh is medium yellow. Let's see if I can show you a close-up. I think I'll show it later. So in Chapa, what you got? We got this compound, and this is the structure. And this is how we do it. This is they compare it with the NIST, and then they identify as the compound. So and we've got other compounds also from this variety. Okay, now we'll come to Dil Pasand. Dil Pasand, the color contrast between the lenticels and the skin is strong. You can see it in the picture itself. You can see those dot lines, dots, the black dots. Those are the lenticels. So in the other part, this was not very prominent. But for Dil Pasand, it is very prominent. And the predominant color of the skin of the ripe fruit is yellow green. And in Dil Pasand, we got this compound 2-hexanoic acid, apart from many other compounds. So now this hexanoic acid, which has been found in the traditional mango variety Dil Pasand, is said to be responsible for the sharp back notes. Present in a very varied array of fruits, that is in raspberry, strawberry, pineapple, and also in apple. It is said to impart a cheesy flavor. The literal translation of the word Dil Pasand means close to the heart or very fond of something. So it is very likely that the unique aroma and the flavor endears this variety to the consumers. Now it could be also possible just because of the presence of this volatile compound, this variety is having this unique taste. And we have to do a lot of literature review to find out whether this compound is present in other fruit or other varieties having a similar taste. So we come to Kolhapuri now. The main color of the flesh is light orange. The flesh is very firm with medium juiciness and the medium texture of flesh. The amount of fiber attached to the stone of ripe fruit is low. The amount of fiber attached to the skin is also low. We got 3-nonanol from Kolhapuri. And this compound, 3-nonanol, is reported to impart pungent, leafy, herbaceous and fruity odor. So this is from the literature review that we have got this. So now we come to Kohinoor. Now this is entirely different from Kohitur, which I talked about earlier. So Kohinoor, in Kohinoor, the mature fruit is long in length. You can see this long, the size, with a broad width. The ratio of the length width is small. The amount of fiber attached to the stone of the ripe fruit is low. The amount of fiber attached to the skin is also low. In Kohinoor, we got this compound hydroxymethylphosphorol, and that is the structure of this compound. Apart from many other compounds, we got this. And this is the GCMS spectra and the NIST results, and they identified this as this compound. Now let's see if you can have any literature review, any information regarding this compound. It says it's an organic compound formed by the dehydration of reducing sugars. HMF is classified as a food improvement agent and is primarily being used in the food industry in form of food additive, as a biomarker, as well as a flavoring agent for food production. Now, this compound has been found in the traditional mango variety Kohinoor. So it could be a potential source for the production of food additives also, maybe. So you can explore the different avenues, the different demands by which this variety Kohinoor could be conserved. So this, as I said, I wanted to show you a close-up of the Chapa mango variety. So this is Chapa. You can see its elegant color, yellowish greenish. And this is again another picture of Chapa. This was collected from Azimganj in Murshidabad. And you can see that how nice the color looks. Now here we identified a compound which is known as eugenol, and it is the name is 2-methoxy-4-prop-2-enylphenol. Now, what is so unique about this eugenol is we have found that it is also present in cloves, which have a distinct smell, and we are trying to find out whether it is also found in Michaelia champaca. This has resulted in a publication also from our team, where we see that this compound eugenol is found in many fruits apart from the mangoes, which have a distinct smell or aroma. So now this is a close-up of shot of the structure of eugenol. Now this eugenol, from a literature review we found out, it has been used in the food industry as a preservative, mainly due to its antioxidant property. Now methyl eugenol is used as a flavoring agent in jellies, baked goods, non-alcoholic beverages. It has been used as a fragrance ingredient in perfumes, toiletries, and detergents. Now, it is possible that eugenol or any of its derivatives in the indigenous mango variety Chapa is responsible for the unique flavor, that is the flavor of the champaka flower or the Chapa flower, Michaelia champaca. So, we can come to one conclusion, that there are so many volatile compounds present in the indigenous mango varieties, and the aroma chemistry is very complex, because we see that certain chemicals are being discovered that mimic complex flavors of different fruits. It needs a lot of intense research in this area, and it cannot be performed by only biologists. We need to take the support of people in the bioinformatics, the chemistry people, maybe the physics. It has to be multidisciplinary if you want to really know about the biological wealth, our legacy that is present in the indigenous mango varieties in Malda and Murshidabad, and maybe any other districts of West Bengal too. And once we know that so much wealth is present in our traditional varieties, then only we can think about conserving. Because there has to be some motive to convince the local people who do not understand conservation per se. But if we tell them, the local people, the farmers, the orchard owners, see, this is the wealth we have, and this can be used in so many other industries maybe, or we can export them, we can have a GI tag, then maybe they'll be interested to conserve those more than 100 years old trees that are present in their mango orchards, which they are contemplating to cut it down and grow fast growing mango varieties which are very high yielding, which is coming from other states of India. Nothing wrong in planting trees from other states of India, but if that means we lose our own biological heritage, then I think that raises a big question, what we need to do. Okay, so coming to the next slide. Just a minute, yeah. Okay.
Please.
Yeah, so okay, now I'll just share. Okay, I'll skip through. Okay, so now the chemistry of mangoes. Now that has been an area of research in all over the world. So what they have seen, the 270 plus volatile compounds have been detected in mangoes. This I'm not talking about only in West Bengal, I'm talking about India and the world. So there are so many volatile compounds there. And we have a Springer publication from other group which have said that they have done the genome sequence and transcriptome studies of mango, not of West Bengal, some other mango varieties. So what I'm saying is a lot of research is going on with different varieties all over the world. And what some of those results have shown us that the transcriptome studies of mango of a certain variety, not of West Bengal, they share so many similarities with different fruits. See the picture. So these compounds are present in so many. This came as a result of the transcriptome studies. Now, as you know, transcriptome studies is pretty expensive and not every lab can do it. So it needs a lot of collaboration and it needs a lot of funding also. If you really want to dig into our biological wealth. Okay. Now I'll share a story about the Gir Kesar mango. Many of you have heard about this mango, very famous in Gujarat. So the Gir Kesar mango, which is also named as Kesar, is a mango cultivar grown in the foothills of Girnar in Gujarat, Western India. Now, this mango is known for its bright orange colored pulp and was given the GI status in 2011. Now let's see what happened after they got the GI tag. This is what happened. So there were different companies who were exporting or selling Kesar mango varieties, and you see in the right hand side picture it says 9 kg box. It's for rupees 1,100, and a 4.5 kg box, it is priced as 600. And then in the right hand, left hand side also, you see there's free home delivery and everything is written. So what it means is, if there's a demand for this Kesar mangoes, there will be some mango orchards having the Kesar plant, having the mangoes, because nobody can do the business without having living mango, Kesar mango varieties. So by default, because of this demand in the market for the Kesar mangoes, there will be conservation. The farmers, the orchard owners, the local people will be cultivating or conserving the Kesar mango trees so that they can cater to the demands, the high demands in the local market. And let's see whether it's the international market also. Yes. So see, in this picture, this Kesar mango box is being sold by $44.99. And certain companies are doing it right now. Now, somebody has to supply the Kesar mangoes to those companies. Where will they get it from? From the local people? And where will the local people get it from? From the trees, which they were thinking of cutting it down? Now they have, so, by default, conservation is happening. Can we not think in those terms for our own local varieties? Now telling a farmer just to conserve a local varieties because it has great value, it's a heritage, if the farmer is faced with his family not having food, he of course will choose a high yielding variety and not even think of conserving a mango variety or any other crop for that matter. So the conclusion we can draw is identifying indigenous mango varieties with unique features and marketing them could lead to higher profit among mango orchard owners. This could be a deciding factor for conserving an indigenous mango variety and its legacy for posterity. So they have something to look forward to so that we can keep this biological heritage for our future generations. So again, a little bit more on the conclusion. These traditional varieties need to be introduced to a large section of the consumers beyond the district borders. Once there's a demand for a particular flavored traditional variety, chances are that the orchard owners will plant those very varieties, and this will lead to the conservation of indigenous mango varieties with distinct flavor. So now I have to acknowledge, so this is the acknowledgement. This work has been carried out with the financial assistance of a research product of the West Bengal Biodiversity Board to myself as the first author. And I would also like to thank Professor Sujoy Dasgupta of Bose Institute and Mr. Sriti Kumar Majhi, Central Instrument Facility, Bose Institute, Kolkata 54, for giving the support and assistance to carry out this GCMS analysis. So unless and until I had access to a GCMS, I could not do the studies, right? So, and many of the undergraduate colleges do not have that much funding to have such sophisticated instruments. So we need collaborations there. And I also have to thank the principal Gurudas College and also principal Ramon College for providing me all the support and the encouragement to carry on this work. So I think I've come to the end of my. So I'll end with two pictures. These pictures are not mine; these are taken from the internet, but just showing that there are so many different varieties all over India. We just need to think of conserving, and also if you can make a way for a demand or make a way for any mango varieties getting the GI tag, maybe it will increase the demand, and which in turn will lead to the conservation. So thank you so much for your patient hearing, and that's the end of it. If there are any questions, I'll be very happy to answer them. So I'll stop my presentation.
Thank you for presenting your research paper. Now the session is open for question answer. Please. Do you listen me?
Yes, we are listening. Yes, sir.
Madam, Mitu madam,
Yes?
do you listen me?
Yes, I'm listening, yeah.
Now the session is open for question answer. Please, anybody
So will
can.
you be asking me the questions or will I take it from the chat box myself?
Okay.
Good evening, madam. Madam, good
Yes,
evening.
please.
I am Gopi
Mr.
from Tamil Nadu, madam.
Yes, yes.
Madam, very nice presentation. And this
Thank you.
month, 22nd, is a National Mango Day. It
Yes.
is your presentation is apt for that. And then variety of mango start from the South Indian to North Indian.
Yes.
Almost all the mango varieties are focused. Thank you, madam. Very nice. It is very nice to observe the mangoes, varieties, everything. I really enjoyed. But I have only one question, madam. If you are focusing all the varieties, it is cultivated or wild one, madam?
Oh, these are cultivated. These are conserved by the local people in mango orchards. So
Oh,
all
nice.
of them are cultivated. But the question remains that the orchard farmers, they do not want to continue grow like the mango plants, like it's a perennial plant. So they have it in the orchards. Now they're thinking of cutting it down.
Oh, I see.
And
Thank you,
in
madam.
that
Thank
case,
you.
they want to plant the high-yielding varieties coming from different other areas. Because
Oh,
it's
I
very
see.
quick and the high yield. Because most of the indigenous varieties, the yield is very low, very low. Like you can't even feed your family having such less yield. And the number is also rare. So, like I said, the number of trees with Kohinoor, I think is just, you can count it on the palms of your hand. So it's less than 10 in the entire district. That's Kohinoor. Kohinoor is a little more better. Anarosh is also restricted to a certain district. So the number of trees is low, and to top it, the yield is low. So which farmer will want to just carry on keeping the plant there? So they are thinking of cutting it down. So it is like people from different biodiversity groups, we are going and trying to convince them. So then the question they ask is, how will I feed my family? If I keep looking after a plant, so isn't it not better to get cut it down and plant more? So this is a question which we need to address, because conservation doesn't happen. It has to be sustainable conservation. Then only we can go in for the conservation in the true sense. But thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for your comments.
Thank you,
and
madam. Thank you, madam. And another question, madam. You are focusing many varieties. Which one is the best one, madam, in your observation?
Okay, this is a very difficult question, because all the varieties present in the two districts are unique. So it depends on your personal taste. If you like pineapples, maybe Anaras will be very good for you. But if you don't like pineapple, maybe then you will not really like. So it depends on your personal taste. So the consumer taste is also very important when you want to export anything. So if a person likes the smell of the champaka flower, then maybe the chapa will have some fondness to it. Or if you like the flesh of the mango to be very firm, then maybe you can go for the other varieties. So every variety is different. Some of them are very good for amshopka that we have, which is famous in Malda, but not all varieties can give rise to good quality amshopka. So it depends on your personal taste and what is the end product. So that will determine the consumer acceptability, which will in turn will determine which trees will be conserved. Yeah,
Thank
any
you.
other question, please? I'll be
Thank
happy
you.
to answer.
Thank you. Very nice, madam. Very nice.
Thank you.
Thank you, madam.
One question in chat
Hello.
box. Brother Shobhik Mitra.
Hello.
Madam, one
Hello, am I
question.
audible?
Yes, you are audible, but one question I am telling you, which is popping in chat box.
Okay.
Okay, can we just take the
Okay.
question in the chat box and then we can answer Dr. Putlibai's question?
Shobhik Mitra, one question from Shobhik Mitra.
Yeah, will you read it out, Pompey? Please, Dr.
Huh?
Mukesh.
Dr. Shobhik Mitra, is there any information on the specificity of aromatic compounds in different mango varieties?
And I think there's another. Can any single compound or a group of compounds, including other terpenes, which are also very common in mangoes, be considered as a variety specific? That will depend because we need to have the total chemical profiling of the different varieties. So see, when we did, I just did the study for this paper, and so every variety yielded say about at least 25 volatile compounds. So then each volatile compound we have to do the literature survey to see whether it's present in other mango varieties or other fruit crops. Then only we had this publication with the eugenol, which we found was used as a flavoring agent, and also present in cloves. So the compounds, it's very easy to get the compounds. I mean, GCMS, and the time is also short. You have the methanolic pulp fruit, the pulp, and you give it to the instrument. So the instrument just gives you the results. The analysis of the result is more important. So we have this long list of all compounds. It's there in front of us. But which one is very important? Whether it's present or not, that requires a lot more time. And if many people have a collaborative approach, then maybe you can find out much more easier. So it will take many more years of research to answer your question. Like, is there any information on specificity of aromatic compounds in different mango varieties? So at least I need to do the GCMS of about 100 to 150 mango varieties to be able to answer your question. So, but I do feel because the mango varieties are so unique in their taste, there will be some specificity. There will be some compounds which are found only in, say, a certain class of mango varieties, not present in others. But that will need a lot more research to really give you a elaborate, detailed answer. So maybe we can answer this question about 5 years hence.
Madam, I want to ask you one question.
Yes,
It's a nice presentation.
thank you.
One thing is that you have identified a few varieties and collected the pulp from the mangoes, and you have not presented any table in this article. I have not seen any table in this article. Being the research article, it may be presented in the research article, I think so. And another thing is that there is no standard statistical data is presented in this research paper, and the information you have given, it may be procured from others research work also. Now you justify that what novel thing you have presented in this research paper.
Okay. Excellent question, sir. Excellent.
Can you understand me?
Yes, of course. So it's a very
What
scientific question that you have asked me. I will be very happy to answer.
Actually, there, how you identified the plants, there is some standard protocol to identify and to use statistical protocols for these type of research papers.
Yeah.
But I have not seen any this type of table in this presentation. And now tell me, what novel things you have reported in this research article.
So may I?
What new things, novel things means what new thing you have presented, you have come put in your research article.
So may I answer your question now?
What?
May I answer your question now, or you have any more questions for me?
No, you
Yeah.
answer me.
Okay. First, I'll answer your first question, which says, how did I identify the varieties? The answer is I did not identify any varieties because they were already identified by the local people of Malda and Murshidabad. Now, the thing that happens, a certain variety may be known in different names in different districts. That has happened, or in different areas of the districts also. So what we did is we had a lot of field studies starting from the year 2013. So it was a long study with a lot of my collaborators, and we had a list of say about 50, we have collected about 72 different varieties, mangoes of different varieties, and they were named differently. And then we did the characterization, that is according to the IPPI and the PPVR given by our government. So the characterization has about 52 quantitative and qualitative traits. So we did all the characterization. So many of the qualitative traits were done with descriptor codes. So you have, you very well know about this. So we had those different characterizations, say about the taste, about the color. So it came as codes of 0, 1, 2, 3. So that thing. And the quantitative traits, that is the measurement, the size, width, and all that. And it was also the characteristics of like the leaf characters was there, the lenticel character was there, the stalk characters were there. So there was a lot of agro-morphological characterization done for the 72 varieties found in the districts of Malda and Murshidabad. Of course, I do know there is a lot more varieties other than that.
It may be better if you presented all the data in tabular form and analyze in different statistical models available for these type of, to tackle these type of problems. And,
I do understand what you say, but the data is so much which is not suitable for this. So it could be if you had given me a half a day time, then we could have sat down and did the analysis, because many of the data already has been published by my group, and because today I wanted to share with you the August gathering here just the chemical profilings of just the 5 varieties.
But in this presentation there is no data, it is the fact.
Yeah, but you have the GCMS analysis pictures.
Okay.
Yeah, and because my study was based only on the chemical profilings, and you did ask me what novel things I got. The novel things that I got, Eugenol has been reported for the first time, for the very first time from the variety Chapa, and it has been already published from Malaysia in an international journal, already published by my group. So this compound, Eugenol, has so many other uses. So Chapa having Eugenol, that is a great finding. Nobody has ever reported it earlier. And we try to draw a conclusion also where it can be used, where it has. So it has been found in cloves, and that's very interesting. A chemical compound, volatile compound, found in cloves, lobongo, which is found in mango variety, and this mango variety has a unique taste. Doesn't the question arise, why this mango variety does not taste like Langra or Himshagor or Alfonso? Why does it taste like Chapa Fool? That is the question that is driving the research. What is the wealth that we have in a country, in our state, which we may just lose because the plants are not conserved? The elite audience, the academic audience, as well as the local people need to know these unique things that are found. And this wealth is so much, it needs many research workers, many academicians, many people in different colleges, different universities to come and think, collaborate, and find that, so that we can showcase the wealth of a country to different people, which in turn could lead to a demand. So that is my personal opinion, that a demand can also help in conservation. There are, of course, different ways of conserving any plant varieties. So this I presume, because we have the model of the Gir Kesar, and we have the model of Alfonso, we have the model of Kent, we have the model of Baganpalli. So why can't we replicate that in West Bengal? So that was my objective. And regarding the publication of different things, this paper was mainly concentrated on the chemicals of the 5 indigenous varieties. And I'm pretty sure if all of us work with different varieties, we will get much more than this. Worldwide, 270 plus volatile compounds have been already identified. So, any other question, Dr. Chandan?
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, please.
Hello. This is Professor Putlibai from Sri Sairam Engineering College, Chennai. I am one of the chairperson of this session. I have few questions. Before that, your presentation is very nice, very elaborative, very informative, qualitatively. And as a chemist, I have few questions. Before that, shall I ask one more question? That is, all the time you are mentioning that GI tag, no? Do you have any idea how to get a GI tag for any species? It's one of the intellectual property.
Right. If you are talking about the technical aspect of getting a GI tag, I'm not so much aware of that. But I
Yeah.
think we have to file for, like patents, you have to file for it. There is a procedure, and if when the time comes, I think we can find like about the GI tags. Because already many of the mangoes of different states have already got the GI tags. Also
Yeah.
different crops like the Darjeeling tea has the GI tag, the Kunur coffee has the GI tag, Basmati has a GI tag. So, and Basmati, it went for a case also. The CSR went for a case when the Rice Tech company, they gave a patent for Texmati. So there is the legal legislation. So I think we have the legal people who can guide us to get the GI tag. But to get the GI tag, we have to showcase something novel, and that it belongs to only that area. So that is where my focus is. Show them what is very unique for that variety, and the rest of the legal aspects can be taken up by the people in the legal circles and the administration. So this has to be an administrative state, and because GI tag, the government will be filing for the GI tag. So I suppose when the time comes, I think we can get the help of different organizations and the government to get a GI tag, and it will involve a lot many people, and not only just the research group. Have
Okay.
any questions, Dr. Putlibai?
Okay. Actually, I am familiar with all these intellectual property rights. In future, if you need any help, I am ready to help you how to get a GI.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Okay, okay. Then one more thing, all the time you were mentioning about GCMS, isn't it?
Yes.
Have you found out any of the compound, and based on that, have you concluded what's the molecular weight?
Um, like there are different compounds of different molecular weights, and I need to have people with the chemistry background. So what I can do is I can share some of my data with you, and then we can maybe you will have a much more better idea
Yeah,
of the results.
yeah, we can have a collaborative work also since I belongs to chemistry
Yeah,
department.
because I need to have a person with chemistry, because both the co-authors we are from the biological sciences.
Okay, okay.
And
So if
I
you
do
want,
I do repeat that we are welcome to any collaborations, because I really feel it needs to have a multidisciplinary approach to understand the extent of our biological wealth.
yeah, really, then only you can go ahead, that is quantitatively.
Yes, yes, absolutely right. You just nailed it. Thank you, Dr. Putli. I'm looking forward to your support.
Yeah, sure, sure. Then you were mentioning about Malda variety, no? In that you mentioned that which is having less
Excuse
fibrous
me?
quantity.
Excuse me, Chair. Actually, we are running out of time, so
Okay.
we have to do it a little quickly. So you can contact Dr. Dev for any more questions, because we are completely running out of time, and we have other sessions also. So overall, Dr. Dev, it was a very good presentation, and all the chairs, Dr. Chandan Bhattacharya, Dr. G. Putlibai,
Yes, thank
and
you.
yeah, all the chairs who have chaired this session. Thank you to everyone, and I think
Thank
we
you,
have.
everyone.
Yeah.
I also tender my heartiest thanks to you, everyone who have participated, who have organized, and other peoples who are to everyone. And now I will close the session. Session 1.
Yes, sir.
May I?
Yes, sir, you can conclude the session.
Hello. May I close the session?
Sir,
Is
yes,
there-
sir.
Yes. Is there any paper to be presented in this session? Hello.
No, sir. Next session
Hello.
will start soon. Technical session 2.
Nah, this session will be closed.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you everyone. Very nice presentation.
Okay. It's a
We are very enriched about mango. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
So, thank to chairperson and experts and presenter for smooth running of this technical session. I think all of the delegates and participants enriched through this session. A very good, very enjoyable session. Now we are going to start second technical session. In this session, our presenter is Dr. I. Jamuna Devi, Assistant Professor of Botany, Nambol, LS College, Nambol, Manipur. Chairperson of this session are Professor J.P. Kasri, CAS, Department of Botany, the University of Burdwan, and Professor Vidyanath Jha, Professor of Botany, Principal Retired, MLSM College, Darbhanga, Bihar. Experts are Dr. M. Gopi, Assistant Professor and Head, Department of Plant Biology and Plant Biotechnology, Guru Nanak College, Chennai. Dr. Sangita Das, Assistant Professor of Botany, Bakhona College, Jorhat, Assam. So, I would like to request our chairperson to take charge of this session. Sir, please.
So, thank you, madam. I think Professor Jha is with us. So, I would like to acknowledge my deep sense of gratitude for inviting me and Professor Vidyanath Jha. Thank you, sir. Welcome, sir. आपसे यहाँ मुलाकात हो रही है, पहले शायद एक बार मिले हैं हम लोग. सर, तो आप सीनियर हैं, यू आर सीनियर, सो यू स्टार्ट द सेशन सर. जो आप माइक्रोफोन, सर माइक्रोफोन आप ऑन कर लीजिए सर. ओके, प्लीज गो अहेड, प्लीज गो अहेड. नहीं, यू सर, यू स्टार्ट सर, यू. ओके.
Okay, Professor Kesri sir and the organizers, Dr. Das, Dr. Ghosh and others present here. We are beginning with the technical session 2. We had a very good session earlier, technical session 1, and Dr. I. Jamuna Devi from Manipur, she is going to make her presentation. I think we should start with that. Please start with the presentation.
Dr. Jamuna, you present your work.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to my presentation. First of all, let me thank you all for participating in this National Conference on Biodiversity Conservation. Let me briefly introduce myself. My name is Dr. Irungbam Jamuna Devi, Assistant Professor in Botany of Nambol El Sanoi College, Nambol, Manipur. I feel wonderful to be a part of this national conference. I am warm-heartedly thankful to the organizing committee, NCBC, for getting me the opportunity to present my research paper under this organization. Today's my topic is diversity and distribution of ectomycorrhizal fungi in pine plantation stains of Manipur. Is it visible? Is it visible, sir?
Yes.
Okay, it is visible.
Yeah.
It's visible. It's visible.
Now, let me come to my introduction part. The forests of Manipur, which are distributed in the hilly and valley regions, are the offshoots of the Himalayas. The forest area is approximately 17,418 square kilometers. The consisting about 78.01% of the total geographical area of the state. Climate in the western part of the state is tropical, whereas the rest part of the state experiences subtropical climate with average annual rainfall ranging from 1200 millimeter to 2700 millimeter, and the average annual temperature ranging from 14.5 degrees centigrade to 38 degrees centigrade. Then most of the forests of Manipur are developed through natural regeneration. The indigenous species Pinus acacia royal of God is extensively found in the forests of Manipur. Although most of the pine forests are naturally regenerated, extensive pine forests having different ages have also been developed through plantation programs, especially in the central and eastern divisions of the state. Plantations of pine have also risen in Sadar, Saombung, Kaksing, Kaibul, Sugnu, Moira, Singha, Sekmai, None, More, and Shaktikarong ranges. Thus, pine is not only one of the most important indigenous timber-producing tree species, but also one of the few species which have been chosen for extensive afforestation programs. Ectomycorrhizal fungi are indispensable for the growth of pines under natural conditions. Thus, proper management of ectomycorrhizal association in forest nurseries has great implication at the present situation of continuous degradation of forest areas. A systematic investigation on the species diversity of Indian ectomycorrhizal fungi, especially in Manipur, is still lacking. So, the survey of ectomycorrhizal fungi associated with pine forests, especially in pine plantation stems of Singmairong, Haingang, Iroisemba, Kaibulamjao, Singpu, and Lokwaipat Marine Hill, is it visible, sir?
Yes, madam, yes.
Thank you. A systematic investigation on the species diversity of Indian ectomycorrhizal fungi, especially in Manipur, is still lacking. So, the survey of ectomycorrhizal fungi associated with pine forests, especially in pine plantation stems of Singmairong, Haingang, Iroisemba, Kaibulamjao, Singpu, are undertaken for my research. Then come to the materials and method. The collection of ectomycorrhizal fungal fruiting bodies from the pine stems were made during the months from May to September of the year from 2017 to 2019. The fruiting bodies were collected in polythene bags and kept at 4 degrees centigrade if identification was not made immediately. The identification were made based on the morphologies of the fruit bodies and the spores. Then the literature consulted for identification include those of Chin, Singer, Parsi, Bilgami et al., Ford et al., Singer, and Wee Jin et al. However, possible hyphal connection between the fruit bodies and the ectomycorrhizal roots of the host plants were established in the field. Those fungal species which could not be identified or have no previous reports associating with pine were neglected. For pure culture isolation and characterization of the sporophores and the spores of the ectomycorrhizal fungal species, the methods described by Baxi 1974 were followed. Then come to the results. At the present investigation, a total of 17 ectomycorrhizal fungi associated with the selected pine stems of Manipur that could be identified. These ectomycorrhizal fungi are listed in table number 1. The most widely distributed species were Pallas species, Ursula species, which found to be distributed in all the selected pine stems. Then other species which have wider distributions include Calvacia, Lycoperdon, Tricoloma, Scleroderma verrucosum, and Scleroderma aurantium. It was also found that though a number of fungal species occurred in a particular pine stem, one or a few species constituted the dominant ectomycorrhizal fungal flora. This table shows the list of ectomycorrhizal fungi which I collected. Agaricus trisulfuratus of the family Agaricaceae, it is found to be distributed in Kaibulamjau pine stem. Then Amanita species, family Amanitiaceae, it is found in Kaibulamjau, Jingpu, Jingmairong pine stems. Then Bolita species, family Bolitaceae, it is found to be distributed in Kaibulamjau, Jingmairong, and Lokoipat Marine Hill pine stem. Then Calvacia species, it is found in Jingmairong and the Kaibulamjau pine stems. Then Lecaria lecata, family Tricolomataceae, it is found in Jingmairong and the Iroisemba pine stems. Then Cantharellus cibarius of the family Cantharellaceae, it is found in Kaibulamjau pine stems. And another species of Cantharellus is found in Haingang, Singpu, and the Iroisemba pine stems. Lectarius is found in Kaibulamjau pine stem, Lycoperdon species found in Jingmairong and Lokoipat Marine Hill pine stems. Then Phallus. Phallus is distributed in all the selected pine stems. Then Ramaria sanguinea, it is edible one, family Calvariaceae, found in Haingang, Iroisemba, and Jingmairong pine stems. Then another species of Ramaria found in Lokoipat Marine Hill pine stem. Drusula aminolens, found in Kaibulamjau pine stems. Then Drusula species, it is found in all the selected pine stems. Then Scleroderma aurantium of the family Sclerodermataceae, found in Iroisemba, Jingmairong, Lokoipat Marine Hill pine stem. Then another species of Scleroderma, it is Scleroderma verrucosum, found in Kaibulamjau, Lokoipat Marine Hill, and the Iroisemba pine stems. Then the last one, Tricoloma species, family Tricolomataceae, is found in Kaibulamjau, Jingpu, and Haingang pine stem. This is the photograph of Scleroderma aurantium, is the fruiting body. Then it is Cantharellus cibarius. This is Scleroderma verrucosum. Russula eminolens, this is Boletus, this is the sporocarp of Lecaria lecata, this is the sporocarp of Ramaria, and this one is sporocarp of Russula. This is Scleroderma aurantium, found in pine stem. This is also Scleroderma aurantium. This is Scleroderma verrucosum. Then it is the sporocarp of Tripholoma species. This is some photographs I have collected. Then come to the discussion. The geographical features and the climatic conditions of Manipur provide a conducive condition for the growth of ectomycorrhizal fungi owing to its ample rainfall, high humidity, and a moderate range of temperature. The monsoon rain usually starts during April and May, continue up to September. With high soil moisture, high humidity, and warm temperature, the mycorrhizal fungi produce their feed bodies in abundance during this period, and rapid colonization of forest litters also occurs during these months. A pattern of succession in the production of feed bodies by different fungal species was also observed. According to Baxi, 1974, the identification of ectomycorrhizal fungi may not always be guaranteed because of the difficulty of tracing their connection with the mycorrhiza. And even if such a connection is found, the identification is not certain because in forests, sporophores of lignicolous and saprophytic fungi may also grow in association with pine and other tree species. Thus, the only criterion which is unanimous for establishing the identity of an ectomycorrhizal fungus is by pure culture synthesis of mycorrhizal association between the fungus and the host trees. Previous reports of confirming different fungal species to have ectomycorrhizal associations with pine are those of Chin regarding Ramaria species, Trapp regarding Calvacea species, Cantarella species, Russula species, and Scleroderma species. Harley and Smith regarding Amanita species, Boletus species, Leptaria species, Lycoperdon species, Thales species, and Tricoloma species. And Lakhanpan et al. Regarding Lecaria lecata. Baxi 1974 reported Agaricus trisulfuratus to be associated with Storia robusta plantation. Agaricus trisulfuratus was found to be associated with pine stems at Bisnupur district in Manipur. Weizin et al. 2021 also reported Scleroderma species to be exhibited well-developed ectomycorrhizal roots to Quercus trees. Then come to the conclusion of my paper. The reported 17 ectomycorrhizal fungi which are associated with different pine stems of Manipur may not be considered as a complete list. A much more comprehensive study will be needed for proper identification up to species level and enumeration of the ectomycorrhizal fungal species associated with pine stems of Manipur. However, As a preliminary research work, the present study will help in selection and artificial inoculation of ectomycorrhizal fungi in pine nurseries, and further more comprehensive research work is to be needed. Then come to the references. This is the references I have used for my research work. Now it is end of my presentation. I hope you should enjoy my presentation. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. Irungumam Jamuna Devi ji.
Thank you, sir.
It was a very nice presentation, and I think it is now open for question and answer.
Yes, sir.
The paper is open for question and answer.
Good evening,
Good
madam.
evening, everyone. Yes, sir. Please continue. After you, sir.
Yes, madam. Please ask me, madam.
Okay. Good evening, Yamuna madam. It was a very nice presentation, I'd like to say. I'm Dr. Sangeeta Das from Assam, Jorhat. And one thing I just want to know from you, madam, you have listed 17 different species of ectomycorrhizal fungi. So which particular method you use to identify all of those 17 different fungal varieties?
I have used the identification of these fungi according to Paxi method. I have already the follow morphological and spore morphology of the ectomycorrhizal fungi.
Okay. So is that a confirmative method, madam, that based on morphology we can conclusively say that that particular identified variety is the correct one?
I have just identified some of the species, but not all the species of all the fungal ectomycorrhizal fungi up to species level. Now I am going on my research.
Okay, madam. Thank you. Thank you.
Is there any new species located in that area?
Sir, now I have not found yet, but I will try to introduce new one.
Any new fungal species that has been reported during your study?
No, sir, not yet.
Actually,
you should look into that aspect also.
I think it will need some molecular biology studies also. So molecular,
Yes.
that
Yes,
they need.
I'll do, sir.
That's
I'll do
now,
further, sir.
for fungi, these fungi it is needed actually. I think.
I work only in ectomycorrhizal fungi.
Okay, Professor Keshri,
Yes,
you
sir.
please take up.
So I think if there is any question.
Yes, I have one
audience-
question, sir.
Yes, please.
I am Pompi Ghosh from West Bengal, Shravati Mahavidyalaya. Madam, one question: How could you confirm that these all fungi of your study area are associated with the roots of pine plants of your studied pine stands? Please highlight the process, ma'am.
I have just collected these ectomycorrhizal fungi from the roots of the pine stem, and I just followed only the morphological and the spore character till now. I will do further work in this ectomycorrhiza. Till now, I just follow the morphological and the spore character and the previous reports I have used.
Madam, I need that. You said that only the food bodies. You show us that food bodies there.
African bodies.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
African bodies I have collected from the food area of the pine stem.
Yes, ma'am. But how could you confirm that these this particular fungi is associated with pine plants, fruits?
Till now, I have isolated the fungal fruiting body and grow in the lab.
Growing in pine forest, they are actually different. So I think they are different entities. Ectoactin fungi, they are identified in a different way, and then the other is macroscopic fungi. They are identified.
Excuse me, please repeat, sir.
My conception is that these ectorhizal fungi, ectomycorrhizal fungi, they are always associated with the pine roots, okay?
No, sir. Ectomycorrhizal fungi is associated with other tree species also. But my research work is on the pine tree.
That's I was.
This is my question, madam. Yes. How can you confirm that this is associated with this?
I have confirmed after culturing in lab.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any other question?
If some more questions are there.
Hello.
If some more questions are there.
Okay, sir.
Hello.
Yes, please. Please.
Hello. Myself is Ravindra Bhattacharya from Bangalore.
Ravindra, bolo.
It's a nice presentation, but one question I like to ask, madam, what type of pine trees you have selected? It is throughout your survey, it is all the same pine trees for
Yeah.
the I need the name of the pine plants.
Pinus
What?
cassia royal export. This Pinus cassiana. This indigenous species of Manipur.
Only the Khasiana.
Cassiana. It is Pinus cassia royal export or Gordon.
Oh, okay.
More questions? If any, Professor Kesari, you would like to make some comments?
No, sir. I think it was a very good presentation, and she has worked very good.
Thank you, sir.
So really, it was a nice presentation, and we thank the presenter for her deliberations. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So, to the organizers, I think we should hand over the mic to the organizers. What will be the next?
Thanks to the chairpersons, experts, and presenter for giving us this beautiful session. So, today's technical sessions are over. Thank you all. Now I would like to request Doipayan Mitra, Assistant Professor of English, Lalgarh, Jhargram, West Bengal, to highlight the overall program according to your view.
Thank you, madam. It was really a nice lecture, insightful one. Thank you. It was a great session indeed. As the speaker has highlighted on the many key issues that she was talked about. Thank you.
Thank you, Doipam, Mitra sir, for your report. Now I would like to request Sri Kishore Machi, Assistant Professor of Zoology, Lalgaon Government College, to highlight the overall program according to his view.
Good evening all. The presentation by both ma'am, Dr. Mithu ma'am and Jamuna ma'am, both are present very nicely. Overall, the overall presentation and the overall presentation, I think very nice and beautiful.
Thank you, Kishore Maji sir, for your report. This is essential part of this program. Now I would like to request Sri Sanjoy Kumar Sinha, SAC, Botany Department, Shivabharati Mahavidyalaya, Jhargram, West Bengal, to highlight today's program according to his view.
Good evening, ma'am. Good evening, everyone. Today is the opening days of our 3 days National Conference on Biodiversity Conservation. Ma'am, today's both the presentations are very elaborate, very informative, very lucid. First of all, the Dr. Mithu Day's presentation. We all Bengalis know about mangoes. Mangoes are Phaler Raja. From her presentation, we know about various varieties of mangoes like Anaras, Champa, and Dilpashan. Those are the need to be conserved. There is a dilemma among the farmers and the orchards that the big trees are cut down and the high-yielding varieties are introduced. So there is some work to be done about these conserve this our local wealth. This is very important. And ma'am, the another presentation about the mycorrhizal that is about the ectomycorrhizal fungi about the Manipur district is also very interesting and very informative. That's all, ma'am, from my side.
Thank you, Sanjoy Sinha sir, for your valuable report presentation and active participation. Thank you, Sanjoy, very much. Okay. Now we are at the end of today's program according to our schedule, and already we are late somehow. Now I would like to request Dr. Debabrata Das, ICOAP, Coordinator of Lalgaon Government College, Jhargram, West Bengal, convener of this conference, Associate Professor of Botany, to convey vote of thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. Myself, Debabrata, on behalf of the organizing committee, I thanks to today's chairpersons and experts for their nice coordination in all sessions. Thanks to presenters for their nice deliberation. The sessions were nice as well as interesting due to their best performance in this event. I convey my sincere thanks and gratitude to all participants who are present here. Special thanks goes to Principal Shivabharati Mahavidyalaya, Kapgadi, Jhargram, West Bengal, and Officer in Charge, Lalgaon Government College, for the time-based help and cooperation, even coordination to make it complete in all respects. Like today's program, we will start tomorrow's program as per our schedule. Participants, please join tomorrow in the evening at 6:55. Please visit WhatsApp or Telegram group to see the overall program schedule. So today's program is over here. Thanks again. Thanks. Good night.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good night to everybody. Good night. Thank you.
So at the end of our program.
Good night, ma'am. Good night.
Thank you. Good night. Good night.
I will tell you.